Hello, my fellow dough heads. Thank you so much for joining today. I'm so excited for this video. On this channel, we talk about a bunch of different things baking, but today we're talking about one of my favorite things, which is reviewing a baking show. Today, we are talking about episode 1 of the latest season of the Great British Baking Show or Bake Off. It's so confusing because in Britain, it's like season 16, but on Netflix, it's collection 13. Anyway, it's the latest one. First episode dropped about a week ago at the time of this recording. We get to see Paul and Prue again, and Allison and Noel. And if you're anything like me, I typically have some kind of baking show, and a lot of times it is Bake Off or the Great British Baking Show on in the background. I'm not even watching it, but it's just playing back there. It just gives me some kind of comfort. I don't know. So I have probably run through all of the different collections, episodes multiple times while I'm doing something else. So it's almost like every time I watch the episode, it's watching it again for the first time because I wasn't really paying attention the first time. Is anyone else like that? So we've got 12 brand new bakers, and we're starting off with Cake Week. I feel like I've been going through withdrawals for just new content since last season. Just a reminder, last season, Georgie won, and she was just so cute and so sweet. I'm so happy that she won. But we've got 12 fresh new bakers with all new challenges this season. Now, the episode starts off with this whole Jurassic Park intro. And I don't know about you, but I'm not a fan of these like highly produced weird slash cringy intros where especially the judges, I mean, they're not actors, but they're being forced to act. And I don't know. I just maybe they think it's fun and I'm all for that. But for me as a viewer, I thought it was a bit over the top. But we did get to see Prue with a beard, which I never thought I would see, and Paul dressed up like a T-Rex. So I guess that was kind of fun. I'd love to hear what you thought of the intro. Maybe I'm the weird one here. I don't know. But I just want to get into the challenges and get to know the bakers. This episode had two very memorable moments for me. One was like the biggest fail I think I've ever seen on a baking show, and the other was the biggest comeback I think I've ever seen. Both of them on one episode. And of course, we've got Paul. Paul saying some not so nice things in the tent. This episode, he mentioned that one of the bakes looked like it had fallen from a tree, and another one saying it reminded him of a bad dream. But I actually think Paul is a pretty nice guy. I've been watching this show for a while, and I can remember a few times specifically that he's been super kind and very nice to some of the bakers, but he's also not scared to say what's on his mind. But deep down, I think he's a nice guy. So I'm watching you, Paul. Prue, of course, is always perfect. Now, if you don't know the premise of the show or just need a little refresher, here we go. There's 3 challenges per episode. One baker gets eliminated each week, and then one gets the prize of Star Baker. Not an actual prize, mind you, for Star Baker, just some street cred. And I really like this show because there's something called the curse of the Star Baker. And it doesn't matter if you won Star Baker the previous week, the next week you could literally be out of the tent. So it's like a fresh start each episode, which I like. There's some baking shows that I've seen in the past where they give someone immunity to where if they win that episode, then they can't be eliminated the next one, which is okay. But I really like this one because it's like a clean slate every time. So we've got the 3 challenges. The first one is called the signature bake, where they take some kind of classic bake, like maybe it's a cinnamon roll or like a red velvet cake, and put their own signature twist on it. For this one, the bakers do know ahead of time, so they're able to practice it before they get into the tent. The second challenge is called the Technical. This one is a surprise. They have no idea what the ingredients are, they don't know what the challenge is, and a lot of times they're given this really pared down recipe that like maybe has a few steps missing or it's just a really brief recipe and they have to figure it out. I remember one season there was a lemon meringue pie challenge and all it said on the piece of paper was make a lemon meringue pie. That was it. I don't know how these bakers do it, honestly, because they're all home bakers. They're not professional bakers. If that was me, I would be like completely lost. I mean, these bakers are way better than me, but still. And you're baking in a new environment. I moved to a new house 5 months ago, and I feel like I'm still trying to figure out the ovens. I don't know how they go into the tent where it's completely new. They're being filmed and figuring this out. It's pretty amazing, actually. And the third challenge is a showstopper. This is typically a big, elaborate bake. And again, they have had advance notice so they're able to practice this. But at the end, the judges look at the 3 challenges, how the bakers did in each challenge, and then they figure out who's going to win Star Baker and who's going to go home. For episode 1, the signature challenge is a Swiss roll. And not just a regular Swiss roll, they have to put an inlay design on it, which is like an extra step. I'm not even sure how it works, but they make some kind of design, put it onto the actual sponge, and then when it's baked, that design is like baked into the sponge. I personally have only tried one Swiss roll. I tried a recipe from Preppy Kitchen. I love him, by the way. I love his videos and I just like him as a person. But this recipe, I only got to the sponge part and I completely bombed it. I ended up throwing it away. These, I think, are a lot harder than people make them look. I'll try it again, but it was a disaster. I don't want to talk about it. So, a Swiss roll is a thin layer of cake that you bake, and then you put a filling on top of it and roll it up so that when you cut into it, it's a nice clean slice. It's got a nice swirl in the middle where you can see the sponge and see the filling. It's supposed to look really nice and neat. This is the challenge where I saw the biggest disaster, biggest fail I think I've ever seen on a baking show. And it kind of sucks because the guy it happened to, he actually seems like a really cool, chill guy. And I just felt so bad for him. But more on that in a second. Now, when you're baking a Swiss roll, apparently you're supposed to bake the sponge first and then pre roll it. Although, when I was trying to figure out how to do this, I saw some people saying, yes, you have to pre roll it while it's warm and let it cool while it's rolled up. I'm assuming for it to get used to being rolled up. But then equally as many people are saying that's the worst thing you can do because that's going to introduce more opportunity for that sponge to crack. So I don't know. Let me know what you think or what you do. However, the thing I saw over and over and what I've learned on all of these baking shows that I've ever seen is do not put things together when they're warm. Like rule number 1, which is what happened with our friend Hassan. I think he messed up with his filling and so he had to start over. And so he was rushing. Things were way warmer than he wanted to, but you have to present something. So he just had to put this thing together and present it to the judges. And it was completely melty, completely deflated. But the cutest thing I thought is he still put these like decorative chocolate shards on it to dress it up a little bit. I just think this could be a meme for like any situation in life that's absolute shit and you're still trying to dress it up. This Swiss roll is a meme for that. And of course, Paul said it looks like this has been dropped from a tree, but it tasted really good. The flavors were there. A couple that I really liked was Jasmine's. By the way, I think she looks so gorgeous with no hair. If I could have no hair and look like this, I would 100% do it. But I just feel like I've got a weirdly shaped head under all of this. So I'm not that brave. But hers was a lemon and raspberry roll that turned out really cute. Another one that came out good was Iain's. I mean, his inlay design was crazy. I don't even know how he did that. And then Tom had a really nice one too. It looked really good and it had a blueberry and mascarpone cream filling. I haven't baked with mascarpone cream yet, but I see it a lot on these baking shows, so I'm going to try it. Another one that came out good was Natalia's. She also just seems super sweet, super cute, and hers turned out really pretty. All right, so next challenge is the technical or tech. And remember, the bakers have no idea. All the ingredients are covered up in this cloth, and they don't even know what's under there until they're allowed to take the cloth off. And technicals usually are really hard because, like I said before, usually they're given just a pared down recipe, but this one was extra hard. This was a taste and bake challenge. No recipe. They're given a perfect version of what they're supposed to bake. In this challenge, they had 5 minutes to figure out the ingredients in it, how it was made, and then like figure out how to do it. They've done this at least one other time in a previous season too. And honestly, they're not my favorite. I just feel like they're not fair. I mean, what do you think? Maybe I'm being too sensitive, but I just feel like it's kind of silly. Plus, at the end, the judges are like surprised that things didn't turn out. I mean, there was no recipe. So this technical was something called a fondant fancy. I had never heard of that. I had to look it up. So it's really cute actually. It's a small little layered sponge cake, usually square, topped with the dome of buttercream, and then there's pouring fondant over the top of that so it looks nice and smooth and perfect, and then they can decorate it with like some swirlies on the top. So again, they have no recipe. They've got 5 minutes to taste it. And another reason why this challenge was so crazy is they were given ingredients that may or may not even be in the recipe. For example, I guess it tasted like almond. There was almond flour on the table and also almond extract. And spoiler alert, They weren't supposed to use the almond flour. They were just supposed to use the almond extract, which again is a trick to me because historically on this show, they hate extracts. So if I saw an extract there on the table, I would assume that that's not something they want us to use. But that was actually supposed to be used in the recipe, not the almond flour. Like if this was me in the challenge, I would have just taken that little fondant fancy and my 5 minutes and probably just gone and eaten the whole thing and called it a day. I wouldn't even know where to start. So the bakers do the best they can. Then the judges come in to taste it. Also with technicals, it's a blind tasting. So the judges have no idea who made what. And a lot of them used almond flour in the sponge. And then the judges were like surprised that this happened and surprised that the sponges were dense because of the almond flour. So on this challenge, Tom, who I mentioned earlier, who did good in the signature, actually got last place. So you never know where someone's going to fall with these. And our friend Hassan, who didn't do good in the signature, also didn't do good here. He got 10th place. Jasmine got 9th place, and Natalia got 3rd. So she's actually looking pretty good going into the Showstopper. Toby actually came in first, but didn't do great in the signature because his Swiss roll was like pretty oval. Technically, it's supposed to be pretty round, but he got first here, so he's doing okay. By the way, I always love the bakers that they choose to be on this show. They just seem to be so humble, so friendly. They don't have egos. They're super easygoing. They laugh at themselves. They all seem to get along. And I think that's part of the reason why I really like the show is there's just so much like happiness and goodwill. These aren't professional cooks or chefs, which helps, I think, with the competition because it's not like their business or whatever is hinging on their success. Like they're kind of just doing it for fun. Okay, so on to the Showstopper, the third challenge. This one, they have to make landscape cakes. So a cake that doesn't necessarily look like a cake, but it resembles a landscape that means something to them. And the fact that it's not supposed to look like a cake actually comes into play a little bit later when I talk about the biggest comeback that I've ever seen. The judges did say it's important to have a sponge that is stronger structurally so that you can build it and carve it. Our friend Iain, who's the comeback story, chose a sponge that was super moist. It was like a chocolate sponge with stout in it. It sounded really good, but he even said he was kind of worried about the stability of it. Plus, with this challenge, it was really warm in the tent. And I don't know why, it's probably easier said than done, but I don't know why they can't control the temperature in this damn tent a little bit better for them. There's some times where it's like 100 degrees in there and they're working with butter and sugar and things that melt. There was even an ice cream cake challenge and it was one of the hottest days ever in the tent, or they're working with chocolate. It's just a nightmare. Or I've seen it really cold to where the bakers are bundled up in their coats and their stuff is setting because it's literally like a fridge or a freezer in there. It just seems really hard to deal with that. All right, so cut to Iain, and his cake is literally melting before our eyes. I have never seen anything like this on a baking challenge. The filling is completely melting in between the sponge layers, and I swear if he wasn't there holding it, it would have just slid onto the floor. He's literally trying to pull it together, hold it together. He's grabbing it by handfuls and trying to put it back together. Like it was a mess. He looked defeated for a few seconds. He just needed a minute to collect his thoughts, and then he remembered the fridge. He wrapped some acetate around the cake, threw it into the fridge, hoping that it'll firm up. And it did. He took it out of the fridge. It was a lot firmer, and then he was able to decorate it. But the fact that it wasn't supposed to look like a cake really worked to his advantage because it 100% did not look like a cake. But it actually turned out to be one of the best ones aesthetically, and it tasted really good too. I just wondered after the judging if the judges had actually seen all of this drama happening or if they just came in at the end. Another really good one was Tom's. If you've seen the show at the beginning of the challenge, they're usually describing what their vision is for the cake, and there's these really cute little drawings that pop up on the screen. His cake and the drawing looked exactly the same. I have a feeling that he's going to do really good in this show. Maybe I'm wrong, but he seems very meticulous and just really knows what he's doing. So I'm curious to see how he's going to do. Someone else who I think did really good, who didn't get a whole lot of airtime, was Leslie. Her cake literally looked like a Bob Ross painting, and actually that was her inspiration, and it tasted really good. So she did awesome. Hassan unfortunately didn't do great. He struggled with time at the end, and his decoration, it just didn't come out the way he wanted it to, and Paul said it reminded him of a bad dream. But it actually tasted really good. He had a pumpkin spice cake with a pecan praline buttercream. Sounds delicious. It was baked really well. It just didn't look great. And unfortunately, he got sent home. Jasmine had some really interesting flavors in her cake. It was a blackberry and pistachio cake with a blackberry and pistachio mousse. And that mousse was surrounded by a cardamom cake. And the judges really liked it. They didn't like how it looked because it just looked like a stack cake with like some trees drawn on it. Didn't technically look like a landscape, but I haven't ever had those flavors before. So those sounded really good to me. Natalia's cake, the one that was a landscape of Ukraine, was beautiful, especially from like the top view. It just looked gorgeous. I don't know how she even did all of that with like all of the moss, and it literally looked like some kind of actual landscape. And the judges really liked how it tasted too. And she got Star Baker for this episode. Someone else who didn't do great was Leighton. He did a Victoria sandwich cake, and I had to look that up. I guess it's pretty common in Britain, but it's basically a regular vanilla sponge and then it's filled with raspberry and cream. I mean, it sounds delicious, but his sponge, I guess, was overbaked. And to me, when they cut into it, it didn't look like there was a whole lot of filling there. And me with cakes, I like a lot of filling, like almost as much filling as the actual cake. Maybe that's personal preference, but it seemed like it was pretty sparse in there. So we might have to watch him in the upcoming episodes and see how good he does. Overall, I loved this episode as I do every other one, and I'm really excited for the next one. Be sure to subscribe and follow along with me as we go through this season, and you'll even be able to hang out with me as I try some of these bakes. I'm actually waiting for some ingredients for the fondant fancies right now. I'm going to be brave and give those a try, and I'll film it all so you can hang out with me. Let me know what you think of this episode in the comments or any of the bakes, and I will see you soon.